So, pranam to all. Welcome again. Thank you so much for making the adjustment to join a different way in different day today. Since yesterday, Saturday, we were not able, but also we thought, well, why to cancel the whole thing? We can do it. We can try it today, Sunday, at least for today. So happy to meet you all. And here we are, still in Switzerland for maybe 2 more days. From there, traveling to Spain. And we have had very nice days during the last week. Many of you may have witnessed some of the interactions in Ananda Dham for Krishna Janmashtami, which I hope we had a very blessed celebration of. And Srila Prabhupada's Avirbhav Mahotsav and other meetings and gatherings. Actually, the main theme from the very beginning of our interactions at Ananda Dham was every day is a festival, every day is a celebration. Let's not just build up to Janmashtami and then celebration is over, but let's look forward to life, to a celebratory life, to life as a celebration. So, of course, we are training our heart for that to happen, but at least in principle, we know that potential is there. Celebration, praise, gratitude, all these important forms of acceptance and appreciation for whatever may come to us today, this particular day, and every single day as well. So, yeah, we had very nice interactions with Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Siddharth Krishna, also very special Vaishnava visiting over there. And now we came here to another area of Switzerland, outside of the mountains, a little bit more back into the civilization, so to say. And yesterday we had a very nice gathering where we talked about the perennial topic, let's say, of self-loving bhakti, which, again, it's never stale, fortunately, and always moving and crucial and important and foundational. And we have been reflecting further with the local devotees about how foundational that is to have these foundations in place, how much these topics are in the service of our highest ideals. So we don't need to create a divide between these two. We don't need to think about the highest peaks of Gaudiya Vaishnava theology and see them as divorced from something quote unquote basic. Us talking like about self-love or Krishna loves you instead of how much you should be loving Krishna. Should. But all of them are part of the same journey. No, we have to develop a framework where everything is part of the same journey. No, we don't need to bring separateness and unnecessary walls to put one thing on one side of the wall, one thing on the other side of the wall. But actually we need to break walls and to create more unity and be able to see our life and practice in more integrative and holistic ways. So I can be talking about self-loving bhakti and even some psycho-emotional balance, and all that will be in the service of, I don't know, Manjari Bhav, let's put it that way. No, I mean, we have to become experts to lay connections and put the dots together, so to say. No, that's Sambandha. That's Sambandha in practice, in motion, establishing this all connectedness of everything. So yeah, it has been beautiful exercise. It's always an ongoing exercise, an ongoing journey. And today, looking forward to continue to exercise myself, my heart, my mind, my everything with all of you. So welcome to the gym. And let's begin the exercise. So I don't know if any of you may have any questions today, topics, thoughts. Naturally, we're almost less than half than the usual number because of a different day and time and just me announcing that 2 on time. But quantity doesn't do away with quality. So I'm totally confident that we have a very quality presence here in the form of each of you. So yeah, willing to welcome whatever you may like to bring to the table today. Oh, Jamuna, sorry, you were raising your hand. I was not seeing I have the microphone on this side of the screen, and I was not seeing the raised hand. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Krishna. So this is kind of like following on from last week where we was talking about, or you was talking about the omnipotency of the Lord.
Okay.
So there's, like there's something that I've kind of, a mantra I always would say to myself of wanting to see Krishna's hand in absolutely everything.
Again, I didn't hear.
Sorry.
The mantra. What's the mantra?
So the mantra would be is not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord.
Oh, sorry. I thought you already said the mantra before. And
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Or by the grace of Krishna, this happened, or by the grace of Krishna, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that would seem that Krishna interferes with the free will or the karma of the jiva, because you're saying not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. They're moving all the time. Trees are moving. We're moving. Things are happening. Things are transpiring in our lives.
Yeah.
So, but that also, this is me now thinking about what I've been saying to myself and what I was taught to. It's a very common one. Is it seems that then Krishna is interfering with the free will or the karma of the jiva, or am I just not seeing things clearly?
Yeah, thank you. I of course I've heard that line many times myself as well. Not even a blade of grass moves without the will or the sanction of the Lord. So, but the point is, in my opinion, and according to what we have been talking, and it's an ongoing conversation, we are never bringing it to a close. What does it mean? What does it mean that Krishna is sanctioning everything or every movement? No, how to explain Krishna sanctioning everything without taking away free will from us? No, like I think it's important. I'm not canceling the mantra, the quote you mentioned, but how to, because sometimes we may repeat these lines, but we may not think about how to play them out, what's implications of that, and how to understand them in a way that I'm an individual with responsibility and with free will, because if not, it's like whatever happens, I just blame Krishna, so to say. Whether it's, or I say, okay, thank you, Krishna, for this, or why Krishna for this? And at one point, I have no agency. I'm absolutely deprived of, again, any responsibility. So it can be pretty irresponsible how we understand these lines. It doesn't need to be, but we can take some of these lines, which in one sense, at least to my knowledge, the line you repeated and I heard so many times, I haven't read it anywhere in Shastra. But besides that, there's a way that we can say that, okay, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. So what's the meaning of that? That Krishna is controlling absolutely every movement of everyone, and actually we have no control, no choice, no will, and what we are. So that shouldn't be the conclusion, because in many other sections in the scripture it is mentioned that the one of the qualities of the Atma is to have agency, to have will, and so on and so forth. So we have, again, Tattu Samambayat, to understand all these statements in a way that are reconciled with one another, so to say. So I will say, if we say, okay, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord, I will say, the meaning of this is that Krishna is sanctioning. And again, and I will say something, and then when I will explain it. Krishna is sanctioning that every living entity will have free will, and on the basis of that sanctioning, everything has free will, and everything moves accordingly to their free will. But all that is to begin with sanctioned by Krishna. And by saying this also, I'm not saying something that happened at one point, no? Because we know all this is eternal. So it's not like a moment where Krishna say, okay, from now on, you will exist. You will have free will. I'm sanctioning that. Now, grass, you can move. No, that happens from time without beginning, which of course is way beyond our capacity to understand. But in one way, it's sanctioned by Krishna in the sense that these are if you want to put it that way, his eternal laws or his eternal codes. There are some laws, codes, universal cosmic way of things, how thing works. There are certain laws. If you are talking about karma, you're talking about mercy, we're talking about free will. These are certain realities that have been there forever. And again, Krishna is honoring those. No, he's not like trying to destroy them or trying to cancel them. He's honoring each one of these universal laws. So that's how I will explain it. No, that Krishna, that whatever happens is sanctioned by him. We could say, yeah, Krishna is, of course, he's present everywhere, always, and he has free will. No? Like you were asking, does Krishna interfere with our will, with our karma, with our whatever the case, the situation? And again, we are using words, and sometimes words can be very facilitating or sometimes very obstructing, confusing. So what do you mean by interfering, for example? No, I will try to use another word. Like, for example, just to give an example without Krishna for a moment, like you live with your husband. So you have free will, your husband has free will. So his free will interferes with your free will. But interfere is not the word. I won't say that interfere like he's getting in the way of free will. It's just you are living with another person who has free will, and the fact that you choose to be with someone with free will sometimes influences you. Let's put it that way. Not negatively necessarily, because interfere may have this negative connotation. Like I'm interfering with you. Of course, sometimes we can interfere. If you are in a room and your will is to leave the room, but maybe my will is to stand on the door and not allow you to pass. So in one sense, I'm interfering. My will is getting in the way of your will. That can happen also. No? That we have free will doesn't mean that we can do anything and everything. Again, your free will may dictate, I want to leave the room. But if 10 other people in the room say, our will is that you don't leave the room, well, probably you won't be able to leave the room. So we have to understand how also free will plays out. It's not just simplistically, like I want something and that happens, not necessarily. And at the same time, Krishna has free will. Krishna has free will. No, we have free will with small f. No, Krishna has free will. Whatever he wants can happen. Satya Sankalpa. That doesn't mean that he wants anything and everything, but whatever he wants happens. So I will say, instead of Krishna's will interfering with ours, and I won't use the word interfering, I will mostly say that, as we were already talking a few times, Krishna going back to our idea of Krishna as having unconditional love, being love, not having, being that, and loving all of us unconditionally and infinitely, he is willing to relate to us lovingly. So from his part, from his free will, he's trying to do as much as he can to reach us. So that, no doubt, creates an influence. I wouldn't call that an interference, but creates an influence. No? Positive, if we are willing to look at that and accept that. But I wouldn't say that he's interfering on our free will. He's just exerting positive, the most positive influence possible in our lives. I wouldn't call it interference, because at the same time, he's respecting our choice to keep, again, the codes and the laws, the principle of love, which is meant to be a voluntary decision. Because if not, we go back to this idea. If we have no decision whatsoever, and everything is on Krishna's side and choice, and it seems like, yeah, we have no word in this relationship, so to say. So how much we can talk of that as a relationship, as a loving relationship. So I would say that, of course, Krishna is, I was talking, of course, this conversation of omnipotence is big, and sometimes the words in it themselves may trigger things in us, especially if we heard some things for in a certain way for a certain period of time, I try to make it clear when I say Krishna is not omnipotent. First, I described omnipotence because there is a whole list of assumptions that each of us has in our minds about what's omnipotent. So if I'm not clarifying that, that may be shocking. But again, if we take omnipotence to be that person can do anything and everything at any given moment, we will already try to explain he cannot do anything and everything at any given moment. He cannot stop loving. He cannot stop being Krishna. He cannot stop being a Brajabasi. He cannot make you stop existing forever. Thank God. He cannot do that. In that sense, he's not omnipotent, because all those things will be contradictory to his own nature. Now we can say, if we put aside those things that will be contradictory to his own nature, Krishna is made of love, he cannot not love, of course, because that doesn't make sense, because he's made of love. If we put aside those contradictory things that could not happen, of course we can say, okay, Krishna has omnipotence, but Krishna cannot cancel our free will. Krishna cannot, all the things that I already mentioned. So there are different ways to talk about it. And we should be careful, of course, and hopefully I'm being more and more careful whenever we talk about this in a way that, of course, we are not diminishing the position and glories of Bhagavan, but also we should be very careful in our attempt to glorify God. We shouldn't feel the need to make him as big as possible. Not like the bigger, the best. Not necessarily, because we may end up, again, in contradictions. If I want to make Krishna bigger than what he is, and please understand my point. Now, Krishna is so big and he can do everything that if he will like, he can stop being Krishna. He can stop loving the Brajabasis because he can do whatever he likes. That's not praise of Krishna. Krishna won't be happy with that praise. In the same way that, as we say many times, in one sense, you can never glorify. If, let's say you have connection with the sadhu in your life and it's a person that you feel, wow, this is the greatest blessing in my life, and you feel, okay, I can never glorify that person enough. Yes, but at the same time, you can over glorify that person. Like if I say, to give an example, oh, my Gurudev is so incredible that he's better than anyone else, any other guru in this world. He's the best of all. That's not tasteful praise. No, that's unbecoming. My Gurudev is so incredible that he's better than Krishna, he's bigger than Krishna. Krishna has nothing in comparison to my Gurudev. That's not proper glorification. That's over glorification. You follow? That's too much. You are going beyond the parameters. Now, if you stay within the parameters of proper praise, there's no end to how much praise one can give. It's unlimited, but inside proper parameters. No? So the same with Krishna. No? In certain parameters, he can do anything and everything. But outside of those parameters, there are things that just are too much. So we can. It's interesting. Again, these are words that I'm using, but sometimes we try to make Krishna bigger than what he is, and by trying to do that, we make him smaller. Again, Krishna is so powerful and so incredible. If he will like, he can stop our free will and kill ourselves for eternity. He can do whatever he likes. And that starts to feel weird if you listen to those potential possibilities. That doesn't speak well about who he is. So again, there has to be a way, a context, a parameter, a perimeter of proper praise, of proper understanding of even who God is, and how in that particular perimeter, of course, there is no end, no limits. There's omnipotence, if you want to put it that way, in that particular perimeter. So anyhow, I'm going a little bit on a tangent, but related topic. So yeah, I will say that, no? Krishna is not interfering with our free will, but he's wanting to participate in our lives. No? For me, that's a better way of putting it. No? It's a relationship. It's reciprocal. Krishna wants to fully participate and to have us participating, which is not the same as saying interfering. For me, that sounds more like a forced, like imposition. Like and you have no choice in the matter. You don't have any word at that. He's trying to exert the most positive influence. And he has his free will. And if we, of course, are willing to open ourselves to his free will, let's say, to his participation in our lives, he will take that invitation, of course, more. One thing is, if I say, Krishna, I don't want to relate with you. I don't want you to mess up with me in this life. In some way, Krishna will respect that, although he will be pain at heart, but he will honor our free will. He won't just like force himself into your life. That's not gentle and loving. But he will be there patiently waiting and loving us unconditionally. But if we officially make that commitment and take that decision, yes, Krishna, invite you to my life and open my heart and want to reciprocate. Of course, he will take another stance, but I wouldn't even call that interference, right? I won't say he's interfering with my life. He's just responding to my invitation. He's being reciprocal. So he wants a relationship. He wants something. He wants a fully invested relationship. He's willing to invest himself fully in us, but he's naturally expecting the same from us. Again, jiyatamam prapadyanti tam stataiva vajamyam. It should be reciprocal. So yeah, those are the thoughts that are coming in this precise moment. You let me know your thoughts, Yamuna. Does it help? Does it make sense? Or there's something else you would like to ask or share or extend?
Yeah, it very much makes sense. Thank you so much. And I think language is an incredibly important thing. We've kind of come across certain jargon, but not necessarily unpacked what that really looks like. Yeah. So then just within that, so then on a practical note, as aspiring Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis that are here, what about when, for example, a real life example, a wildfire takes place in a devotee community, and one family loses their home, and everyone says, oh, Krishna arranged that you were to lose your home to build it better, and this, that, and the other, and everybody else's home got protected, and that's also Krishna's arrangement. Because that could seem a bit like, well, that was a bit of a bummer. Why did he pick on me? I haven't got any money to build a home, or whatever the case may be. But it seems like, well, I would have preferred it if you'd just left mine. That would have been a good one, So just as a practical.
I get the point. It reminds me recently, maybe some of you are aware, that came to my notice that the ex-president of the United States, Donald Trump, he was shot recently, but he was not killed, just very nearly. But someone else was killed. But there was a lot of people who were like, okay, God protected him. No, and they even went to this point, like, okay, the shooting happened at, I think it was 6:11 p.m. And they found some verse in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, I think 6:11, which says, if you put the sword under the shield and God will protect you. So it was a verse that seemed to be very correlated. So many were like taking, okay, this is a clear revelation that that God protected him. And again, some were making the argument, but what about the other person who died? No, so you can say, okay, God protected him and he killed him. And again, there was an analysis of playing out the implications of using this type of expressions in one direction, and what about the other direction, and ascribing all that like 108% to God, so to say. So just, you made me think about that similar situation, so to say. So what I will say is that, again, we cannot, each case is unique. Each devotee is unique. The relationship of every devotee with Krishna is unique. What everyone needs the most is unique. So if we open ourselves to Krishna and a relationship and invite for his mercy, everyone will do that uniquely on different ways and different levels. And Krishna also will respond to that in different ways and in different levels. So my point with this is, let's put it this practical way. if a devotee is, there are two devotees, right? And the two are equally, just to use some numbers and statistics, the two of them are equally surrendered. And one gets his house burned and the other one doesn't. So what happened there? Krishna showed more, and you will have all the theories, no? No, Krishna gave more mercy to the one who the house was burned because he detached that person from that and blah, blah, blah. Or Krishna gave more mercy to the one whose house was kept because he kept the house and blah, blah, blah. And the correct answer is neither of both. No, I mean, in one sense, Krishna gave mercy to both of them. The fact that the house is burned or not is not necessarily, you have not necessarily ascribed that the Krishna burned the house or not, he did not burn the house or did not allow the house to be burned. I would say the mercy of Krishna comes internally in the way of how we react to those situations. No, that's for me the main thing. No, it's not so much what's happening on the outside. No, on the outside, again, there can be a tsunami in a city and kill a whole community of Vaishnavas or whoever other affiliation. And we won't say, oh, God was angry with that particular group and that's why this happened. Or God is especially inclined to them and he showed mercy sending that to put them to test or to show to the world, who knows what. No. Again, how God mercies operate has more to do in how we are going through whatever happens externally on the inner core. No? And again, over and over again, I go to Viktor Frankl's Man in Search for Meaning. No, he's in the Holocaust. He's a very good spiritual devotee practitioner. He's in the Holocaust, but he is connected to God's mercy, and that allows him to, so to say, go through that external monstrosity in an enlightened way. So I will, and again, that's invisible. Again, we don't see how the person internally is going. We generally get stuck in, but why the house was burned, or why the house was not burned. Now we have so many instances in the scripture where some devotees are going through tragedy and some others are not. So it doesn't mean, okay, who was better, where Krishna was more merciful. It's not about that. No, that's not the yardstick. The actual question is how they are reacting internally, what's going on inside of them. And then you can see how much they are receiving the mercy, so to say. Mercy is coming. No, I wouldn't say Krishna is giving mercy to them. That's a whole layer of the conversation also when we say, okay, Krishna is giving mercy. So what's the other option? Not giving mercy? He's an ocean of mercy. No, how can he not give mercy? So the real question is not so much Krishna does give mercy or not, is what we are doing with that. How open we are to that descending current. Krishna's giving mercy always, no? Like we were talking. In one point, even one could say, considering this, it doesn't make much sense to ask for mercy. Because asking for mercy implies that mercy is not there yet. And sometimes we enter into that, give me mercy, please, Krishna, give me mercy. And basically I'm telling him, you haven't given me mercy yet. Or whatever you have given is not enough. Instead of acknowledging so much has already come, so much more than what I can even conceive has come. So even if I ask mercy, will be, give me mercy to properly honor the mercy that already came. Not give me mercy from a place of scarcity. Like, I have not that, so give me that. No, but basically from a place of abundance. Like, I know I'm surrounded by that, but somehow or other, I'm so expert at not seeing that. So at least give me the mercy to see the mercy. No? Which for me changes a lot. It gives another framework. No? Like we were talking before about words, and how we use some word can give another framework. And you have another framework, and you have another experience. Many times we are suffocated in life and practice by having certain experiences in a way that are, oh, I don't want to have this again. It's so tiring, it's so boring, it's so frustrating. The same thing, experience. But maybe we need to change the framework. And sometimes changing the framework means this, change some words or change some approaches we are having, like what I'm sharing now about mercy, approach from this place. And that will, it's a new framework and it's a new experience. And probably when we feel stuck in life or in practice, probably what we need is a new framework. And sometimes that's even a new language, new words. No? So, yeah. Those are my thoughts. I hope that helps, Simona.
It really does. Perfect. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. And nice to see Brianna and Daniel then. Or someone else is there. There is a third one. Can you please introduce him to Tadatmya Sangha? Okay. Nitai. Jai Nitai. Okay. Don't torture him that much. He's resting just. We wanted to have the official introduction to the family here. So thank you. Jai Nitai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you both three, both you three.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice, very nice, beautiful. Thanks for bringing him to the assembly also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Haribol.
Jai Nitai. Okay, let's go to the next question. Who is there? Rajendraji from India. Please, you can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, nice to see you.
The pleasure, my pleasure. The same.
Maharaj, my question is related to the previous question Yamuna Mataji asked.
Oh, really? Okay. Let's go.
Whenever there is difficulty in our spiritual life or material life, then we have certain responsibility to do something about it. And also there is, Krishna's role, Krishna's part is also there. And in material situation, we also take into account our destiny or karma. So how do we balance our responsibility with Krishna's will or maybe destiny?
Again, these are words that we need to maybe explain. Krishna's will, destiny, responsibility, so on and so forth. So, as we were mentioning, there is Krishna's will, and Krishna's will is always loving. Don't forget that part, just in case. No, he's made of love, so his will cannot but be love. He wills to have a relationship with us. So that's his will. His free will is expressed in that direction, always, in a loving direction. So his will toward us is his constant invitation for that possibility. His constant openness, opening doors and extending invitations in so many ways. You can say sadhus, you can say shastra, you can say holy name, you can say life circumstances, you can say, even though of course we are individuals with responsibility, and if we act in certain ways, we create corresponding reactions. That doesn't mean that Krishna does not remain there, offering his best possible presence to us. He's trying to remain present in the best possible way, available in the best possible way according to our particular circumstance. Like we gave this example of the GPS a few times already. Like you are driving. I don't know how to drive, but let's do it hypothetically. I'm driving and the GPS tells me, Swami, next street, turn on the left. And I turn on the right because, of course, I don't know how to drive. So the GPS won't get angry at me. GPS, hopefully, you never know. Maybe nowadays you can program a GPS who has some little spicy emotions also. But in general, the GPS will be very compassionate, unconditionally accepting of you, and will say, recalculating. And you continue to turn in the right street over and over and over. No matter how many mistakes you make, GPS will say recalculating, readapting, readjusting to offer you the best possible option according to your worst possible choice, so to say. According to your latest updated mistake, I'll try to offer the more updated solution that works better for you in that moment. So that's how Krishna is adjusting constantly in his presence in our lives, with that openness, with that willingness to connect with him. But of course, we have responsibility. And for me, and I always like to use the word responsibility and break the word in two, as I did in radical personalism, which is responsibility. Because sometimes we take responsibility more as you did something wrong, now you bear the consequence of that. Or you lied, you confess, become responsible. Of course, it's also part of that there in a healthy way, but responsibility also means responsibility. Which ability do I have to respond? And we could say in this case to Krishna's free will, to Krishna's invitation, to Krishna's presence, attempt of getting closer to us. How do I respond accordingly to that? That means responsibility, to develop my capacity to respond to life circumstances, to whatever comes. So, so we have a responsibility. Again, we choose how to respond to what happens to us and how we can develop that ability, that responsibility. We have to develop, to refine our ability to respond. And of course, the more we align and the more willing we are to connect with Krishna's will, to Krishna's free will, to Krishna's loving invitation, our responsibility will be expressed in that direction. How can I take more responsibility? How can I increase my ability to respond to Krishna's unconditional love? And how can I reply back? And again, reply back means to him and to everything else in connection to him. In connection to him. So that's what I will say. Now, when we use the word destiny, you use the word destiny. Many times destiny is another word in Sanskrit. Generally, the word is karma for destiny, or daivam, which also is connected with karma. So destiny many times has more to do with the results of our previous actions. But again, as we mentioned before, you may have a particular result according to your previous action, but still you can choose how to respond to that. Like I treated you badly, and as a reply, maybe someone treats me badly, let's put it that way. But still I can choose how to respond to that. And responsibility. That's my responsibility. Try to relate that word from that place. I have to become more responsible, means I have to learn to reply to life, respond to Krishna's will coming to me in so many ways. Again, even if some things are coming as a result of my previous actions, it doesn't mean that Krishna is not coming also in between all that. We have to be careful not to see reality in black and white. It's not like, okay, this is my karma, and then Krishna will pay me a visit later. No, like Krishna cannot be here because it is karma. No, and vice versa. No, Krishna is always present. His grace is always present, even when we are dealing with the results of our previous action. One thing doesn't exclude the other. Sometimes the problem is we are pretty exclusivistic in our way of like compartmentalizing things and putting this is in this box, this is in this category, and again, that doesn't apply to God. he moves in another way. So even when we are, as we were talking before, even if I'm, let's say, an absolutely denier of the divine, non-devotee, atheistic, demonic personality, great monster on earth, and everything I do is in that mood, and whatever it's coming on my way is the results of my previous disastrous actions, still Krishna is there. In between all that stuff, he is present unconditionally, lovingly. So what to speak if I'm trying to turn to him more and more? He's still always there. So yeah, to grow in responsibilities, just to to increase my capacity to respond appropriately to Krishna's invitation. As we were talking yesterday with the devotees, Krishna keeps his flute in hand. Many times we say that. He never goes on a strike. Like, I'm tired of keeping a hold in this flute. Like, I understand it's pretty uncomfortable to be like this for eternity. My arms are getting a little bit affected. So I will take a rest. I'll stop calling you for a while because I need some rest. No, Krishna is not taking rest from sending us an invitation. So responsibility means becoming aware of that and increasing our capacity to honor the invitation, respond to the invitation, which keeps coming in every life situation. Even if one life situation may be, seen as, oh, this is my karma. On one level, this is your karma. On another level, Krishna is calling you, always, despite whatever situation is happening to you. The two things are happening simultaneously. You can have a reaction, but that doesn't, the fact that you are receiving a karmic reaction doesn't make Krishna absent from your life in that moment. It makes him even more present if you are open to that. He's extending his merciful hand. So, yeah. So for me, this is an important reframing of what responsibility means. No matter what you are going through in life, even if we want to label that as destiny, karmic reaction, justice, use the word you want. My point is, Krishna is fully present there, trying to invite you, trying to reach you. And what do I do with that? That's what I call responsibility. It's my own invitation to take, to respond to that. Which ability do I have to respond to that? How to increase my ability to respond to that? But even before responding to that, I have to increase my ability to perceive that I'm being invited and that I'm being called at every moment. So it's a gradual process. It's a life journey. So no need to look for immediate answers. So we are there immediately. It's a life journey. And we are happy to be on the journey. That's enough. That should be enough to celebrate. So I hope that helps, Rajendraji.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next raised hand, which is from Karuneshwari. And Ravindra Prabhu is there in the back also. So greetings to both.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. First, I'd like to say I've been listening to the talks from Ananda Dham, and they're just so nourishing. They're so great.
Okay.
It's been a real journey listening.
I agree. I agree.
My question is a part 2 of a question I asked you about a month ago, and you might remember that I wrote a little bit to you. The part 2 of the question. So the original question was about Richard Rohr saying that one can be a saint at any stage of human consciousness.
Yeah.
And you answered that. And the part 2, which I wrote to you, was that we were discussing that in our UK group. And so this might take a little bit of time to explain. I'll try and be succinct. So we were looking at Madhurya Kadambini in this statement that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes, that Nishta is determined by one's steadiness in bhakti, not by the qualities, the human qualities that are often present at Nishta, but they may come afterwards. And that led us on to a discussion about, can you actually be making advancement through the different stages of bhakti, but have some catching up to do on the human level? And actually, just this morning, we were listening to one of those talks from Ananda Dham, the one about scripture and guru. And you mentioned there that sometimes you've got a situation where you can have devotees spouting, like speaking from their mouth, the highest philosophy, while carrying all kinds of like human issues, unresolved issues and dysfunctionalities. So, you know, sometimes we'll see that those devotees who are like very steady, very fixed in service, doing a lot of whatever it is, whether it's Sankirtan, deity worship, but on the human level, looks like there's an awful lot of growth work still to be done. Like sometimes they're not very good at relating to other people, or they're suffering a lot from anxiety or depression. So the last point to mention is that when we were discussing this with our UK group, one of the devotees, her question was, but what does advancement mean if it doesn't mean that your whole kind of person is growing? How could it be possible to be advancing in bhakti without developing as a person? So that's the question. Hopefully I've explained it properly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's an important question, long topic, and necessary to keep on the table, not to bring to the table and take it after one meal, so to say, but to keep it on the table for a long time. And I've been even talking recently with a few friends and mentors of mine, and basically sending to them the same point, like which were their thoughts about this idea of how much you can be spiritually advanced but humanly dysfunctional, so to say, how much we can speak of cases of people being very vertically developed, if you want to put it that way, but horizontally lacking on some level. Of course, it's not also black and white, no, hundreds, 0%. And of course, there are cases, and each case is unique. And in this situation, I don't like just to give a conclusive opinion on this is the only way, and there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Because I don't know, to give an example, and of course, it will be an extreme one. And also because we are talking about being humanly integrated, but what does it mean for every person? Also, that may be relative, no? And also according to a culture, what's to be humanly balanced. If you were born in Japan and in South America and in Africa and in Russia, not everyone will have a consensual opinion on what does it. Maybe all agree of, yeah, that's important, but how does it take place, to which degree, that may differ according to some of these relative considerations. So there is some nuance there. So I was just thinking about this example of like Bamsidas Babaji, for example. No, we heard about him. He was this very advanced devotee, avadut, from the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But he was an avadut. No, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself told his disciples, do not associate with him. Imagine, I mean, he's super advanced, but instead of sending them, go to him, he said, do not go to him, because in one sense, you may be disturbed. No, he may not talk to you. He may scream at you. He's kind of a madman, no, divine madman. No, so my point is, probably he will fit into a category called humanly dysfunctional in the eyes of some, or socially non-adapted person. But at the same time, he was Bamsidas Babaji Maharaj. He was praised by all our acharyas, and he had this unique, intimate relationship with Bhagavan. And anyhow, so again, this is kind of an exception to the rule. I'm bringing first that for us to know there are possibilities, and there may be a few exceptions that we will see devotees who are very connected, very internally absorbed, but somehow what we generally understand and a functional human interaction, they are not capable, if you want to use that word, of that. But we should be very careful of not labeling them as, no, I don't know, you are being escapist, for example. No, you are doing bypassing, because in their case, they are not doing bypassing. It's not that they are escaping something. They are, no, I should work on this, and I'm just well play the abadut. They are really there. So that's one thing, no? I think something that will make the difference is in these cases when the willingness those devotees have to acknowledge those things that may need to be worked on. Because someone can be advanced in many ways internally, but still with some unresolved issues, but somehow that person didn't have, let's say, the language or the tools or the experience to know what's going on. And nobody brought the topic to them either. So how much we can blame that person, or we can say, you are really being a escaper and evader. No, But the point is, when the situation comes and becomes evident, and one has to confront those things, what's our reaction? I would say that's when we can see if we are in a healthy template or not. No? Because if we are shown, yeah, we need to integrate these unredeemed layers, and we find all these excuses not to do so in the name of the higher thing, that's not so healthy. But if we didn't know about that, how much we can be blamed for that? We were sincerely with the tools we had, and then something came. So in general, again, I don't want to just put everyone in this particular box either. We always have to be careful to remain radically personal. So we have to address every single case uniquely as it is. But in general, I will push for a more holistic wholeness model of integration, as I try to explain many times. Especially in our tradition, we want to serve in what we call Nara Lila, the divine game, which is fully human, fully divine. So we want to be fully human and fully divine. So we want all these layers properly integrated, properly redeemed, properly accepted, nothing to reject, all to accept. And for me, yes, spiritual life, especially the last years, has become more that, more like a journey, an ongoing journey of integration and wholeness, instead of like an ascending, how to say, running marathon into transcendence, so to say. You know, like I had to go up and leave this place as soon as possible, instead of like, no, I want to integrate all that needs to be integrated, as long as that takes to be a fully whole, as we say, holy and whole, not holiness, integrating the two. Even we were talking yesterday with some devotees, half joking, half seriously, about this idea of, okay, let's say that even you can reach the spiritual world, let's put it that way, without doing all this work, right? This inner work of integration, of balancing, of healing. You just become transcendental with all these dysfunctionalities, and you don't care for anything, and you just do that and reach Golok. And you reach a section of Golok where people will go there, those who have practiced their sadhana in that way. And I was like, even if that's possible, which I don't think it is in general, I'm not interested in going to that part. That's not my Golok, right? So even if someone will want to insist and make the case, I don't need that, I don't care for that, I will just chant Hare Krishna and be happy, although I'm miserable, but many times we say that, right? And I will go to Golok without caring for all that stuff. Okay, even if that happens, I wish you all the best, but that's not the corner of Golok I'm interested in going. No, that's not the experience of the spiritual world. That's not how I'm interested in going through what the spiritual world is about. That's not what I'm getting from reading and listening from what's going on in the spiritual world, because I'm receiving this feedback that there's full humanity there. So for me, it just makes sense. If I want to go to a place where there's full humanity, I need to become fully human, as simple as that is. No. So again, with this, I don't want to make a case and try to defeat those who think differently, and let's enter into full eternal debate. Just that's how it resounds for me. So of course, just being a balanced human being is not the all in all. We don't want also to over absolutize that. Bhakti, internal culture, inner life, development of divine love. That's also, of course, that's the most important thing. And actually, to have a balanced humanity, it's in the service of that. And eventually the two of them will become one. No? At the end of the day, it's not just separate projects. If you want, you can put it in terms of sattva, no? Which is so suggested in the scripture repeatedly. It's in our tradition. Sattva is not the goal, but you have to be properly situated in sattva, in a balanced situation, instead of rajas and tamas. No? If you want to see rajas like these up points of like passion and desire and like and enjoyment, and then tamas, down, darkness, depression, and then up, and then down, rajas, tamas, rajas, tamas. Now, sometimes we go through those two. Now, when we are down, we want just the point up, and at one point we cannot keep that. And so sattva means the balance, not the up and down, but the balance. And on that foundation, transcendence is more plausible, scriptures say. And for me to have an integrated humanity it's sattva, if you want to put it that way. Now, we don't even need to talk about spirituality yet, but to have a balanced, integrated humanity, to heal, integrate your unredeemed parts, it's part of the sattva project. And the sattva project is part of the Vishuddha sattva project, so to say, of the transcendence project, which includes sattva. That's why we have the word Vishuddha sattva. Still, the word sattva is there. So we integrate our humanity in the context of bhakti, not just as a preliminary act. It's not like, oh, first become fully balanced as a human and then we can talk about bhakti. No, it's all intertwined, because again, we cannot fully separate the two. Although some people may not be practicing bhakti and working on balancing their humanity, I will say those who practice bhakti should have this balancing of their humanity and as an aspect of bhakti. No, it's not like a separate, again, separate agenda, separate project. So that's how, at least again, how I personally conceive. Again, at the end of the day, bhakti is independent. Don't forget this also. That's mentioned in Shastra. Bhakti is independent. Bhakti has her own will, and bhakti has her own power, and bhakti can reach different places despite dysfunctionalities or despite things that we usually consider that's not so becoming so ideal. So we have these cases in scripture and everywhere. But again, we shouldn't, speaking on how we should deal with all this, we shouldn't just rest on that, right? Oh, bhakti is independent, so I don't have to care for all this stuff. Because if bhakti wants, she will come. And I just don't do anything, just wait for bhakti's independence. That's not the idea. No? Again, it's a reciprocal relationship, and we're expected to take responsibility. So bhakti already came, bhakti already knocked the door, and part of the invitation is become fully human. So, yeah, those are my thoughts today. I don't know if they help, Parneshwari.
Yeah, they definitely help, and it's lots of food for thought. And somewhere at the back of my mind is another question in response to it, but it's not formulated yet, so I'll follow up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have Bhakti Rasa raising her hand.
Jai Maharaj.
No
So as you
camera today?
no camera, just because of the position of my computer.
No problem.
Sorry about that. So as you were speaking with Yamuna responding to her question, I was thinking, and you were talking about the container of, of praise that should be within a perimeter. And I was thinking that what that perimeter is really is the nature of the person. And then I was thinking that like Jiva Goswami had put Krishna's tu bhagavan svayam as the paribhasa sutra, and everything is related to that center. So it seems like the paribhasa sutra is kind of now would be helpful to be Krishna's unconditional love. And in relationship to that center, everything is considered in relation to that. And as a part of that, that we are a beloved of God. And to consider everything that all of the concepts that we have accumulated about bhakti and about Gaudiya Vaishnavism, to match them, to orient all of them around that one truth, that Krishna is love, that he has unconditional love for each and every entity, and that we all exist in an embedded relationship of of being his beloved.
Thank you, Krsnas. So that's a bold proposal you're bringing to the table now.
Yes.
Let's make these ideas not the new Paribhasa Sutra. We are not here
Yes.
trying to replace anything that our Goswami said, but just
An
trying to
extension.
construct on the foundation of that. So yeah, I agree. I appreciate your point and how some emphasis on certain specific things like this one can really change the perspective. No, and I appreciate that you mentioned the example of the Paribhasa Sutra, because I'm currently studying the Srimad Bhagavatam again and again and again. So every year I try to read it completely. So again, here we are, 9th canto now. And I don't know how much you pay attention to your reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I hope you do. And if you do, you will find, among other things, you will find if you pay attention, is that before reaching the 10th canto, wait for the 10th canto one moment, you go through the first 9 cantos, and every single lila and every single instance in which God appears, it's Narayan, it's not Krishna. Right? Every prayer, every time, you name it, you name the lila, you name the devotee, Vishnu, and many times the name in the verses is Vishnu, Narayan, Hari, which is more generic name also. It's not necessarily limited to Krishna. Of course, Krishna and Vishnu are not separate. But my point is, it's that for me makes even more, the emphasis of Jiva Goswami on this line that we repeat many times, Krishna stu bhagavan svayam, that Srila Prabhupada translates as Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That appears in the first canto. But again, the main emphasis of God, God, God is Vishnu Narayan. But Jiva Goswami emphasizes this line so much that it's some kind of, not forces, but invites you to see all these sections where it seems that Narayan is God and Vishnu is God. He presents that, of course, for this we need to read the whole Sandarbhas to understand his presentation. But he makes the point in such a way that it makes sense to even read all those sections and understand actually Krishna is the source of Narayan. Although if you don't go through his particular emphasis, it wouldn't make sense. It becomes almost more obvious that, oh, Narayan is God, Vishnu is God, and Krishna is some expansion. But he makes a very compelling case based on one single line for you to see the whole Bhagavatam in the context of that, which may sound a little like extreme, but the way he makes it is like basically, so far I don't know anyone having tried even to refute Jiva Goswami's arguments in the Sandarbha. So I made this point in the sense of, without that particular emphasis Jiva Goswami made, you can read the Bhagavatam and reach a very different conclusion that we will reach as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So in the same way, if we will make a consistent emphasis on this idea of Krishna's unconditional love, we will read life, reality, our practice, ourselves, Krishna himself, we will read all of that in a very different way. And if we try to bring that particular perspective in mind and now see everything through that particular filter, if you want to use that word, oh, everything looks so differently. Like, for example, now, as you know, the last weeks I've been in a writing retreat and writing something for a future book on Krishna's unconditional love. And one chapter I'm planning to write is on the 3rd verse of Shikshastakam, which is the most important instruction that Mahaprabhu ever gave, according to our Charyas, but which unfortunately sometimes is very much weaponized. Like in terms of how you have to be humble and how you have to be tolerant, and how you have to offer respect and not demand respect in a way that is self-diminishing, so to say, not healthy. I've seen that. No. So I've tried to do, what I've tried to do in that chapter is, let's read this 3rd verse through the lenses of Krishna's unconditional love. Let's reinterpret, so to say, not reinterpret actually, let's discover what the verse actually talks about. and it's so much more user-friendly and makes sense, and at least for me. No, like you say, Krishna, okay, Mahaprabhu is saying, be very humble. And from which place comes this? No, it's not like you have to be humble. You are not humble. Be more humble. More than a grass, fall to the ground. Come on, humiliate yourself. Follow Mahaprabhu. Again, bring the idea of unconditional love. Bring the idea Krishna is already loving you infinitely. He has accepted you from tip to toe, from time without beginning, even when you have lived lifetimes denying his existence. No? Maybe you did nothing to earn that, and still that is coming abundantly. So if you try to enter into that space, if you meditate on that, you will become very humbled. If you realize, I've been given the most important gift by the most important person, in order to receive that, I did nothing. And many times I did all that I could to oppose that, and still the gift is coming. I mean, that's humbling to tears. I cannot but be humble by acknowledging that. So you can be Trinada Pisanichena, invoking Krishna's unconditional love. Tarora Pisa Hishrana, be more tolerant than a tree. Again, be more tolerant than a tree. Tolerate, endure. And there is abuse, and there is dysfunction, and there is stuff. No, you have to tolerate. You have to follow Mahaprabhu's. Oh, no, that's not the idea. That's not what Mahaprabhu is meaning. Remember, Mahaprabhu is Krishna. He's an ocean of mercy. He's the most merciful. So whatever he's saying, it comes from that place. So again, the tree is tolerating, the tree is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that tolerance like compassion free from envy. Because the tree is receiving all this input and the tree is giving. So we can go through how us to be tolerant. First go to Krishna's unconditional love. Krishna's in my heart from time without beginning, loving me compassionately, and if you want to put that way, tolerating so much stuff that I'm doing and thinking, and he remains there. As I like to say, he's not leaving a sign saying, I'm fed up with you, I'm tired of being your Paramatma, find yourself another inner witness, good luck. He's not doing that. He remains there, loving us more and more. So he's us more tolerant than a tree, compassionate, forgiving, no, to us. So when we become aware how much we are being forgiving, how much we are being shown compassion up, and how much we're being tolerated, naturally it becomes easier for us to extend that gift to others. So that's, for me, the spirit, how we can understand that line, invoking unconditional love. And then amani namanadina. Don't expect respect, offer respect. Again, how to do that? It's not so much like fall to the ground, offer respect, do not argue, shut up, don't think, just say ki jai. That's not the idea. That's a cult. That's not Shikshastakam tree. Amani namanadina means offer respect, don't expect respect. How to do that? Simply, again, Krishna is loving you unconditionally. So that's the highest gift. That's the highest honor, to receive love from God. There's nothing higher than that. So, and you are receiving that. So when you are aware of that, it doesn't make any sense to look for any form of honor or recognition, because I'm already being recognized and fully accepted by the most important person. So just the very idea of recognition just falls apart. If I enter in real contact with Krishna's loving me infinitely, like what higher recognition that can be? And the opposite, offer respect to others. Okay, where to begin? Because sometimes people do not behave in a very in a way that invites for respect and honor. Doesn't mean that if someone is an abuser or whomever, I have to just respect that and allow stuff to happen. No, that's not the spirit of the instruction. But we can still, even in the worst case, we can still offer respect to everyone, knowing that Atma, despite the external messiness of their condition, is loved by Krishna unconditionally. So there is something for me to honor there. There is something lovable there, despite all that other stuff. So from that place, I can follow Mahaprabhu's instruction, all in the context of unconditional love. So that's just one example of how can we reread, reframe, reinterpret verses like this or many other things. Whatever you want to, whatever you have been traumatized for decades, that's my invitation. Make a list of all those words or verses or concepts that have traumatized you for decades. Bring them to the table and try to reframe them according to the lenses of unconditional love, and redeem them. No? Reframe, reread, redeem them. No? So, like in the same way that Jiva Goswami is explaining this Paribhasa Sutra and inviting us to read the Bhagavatam, all revolving around this particular line, Krishna's tu bhagavan svayam, and the whole Bhagavatam suddenly makes a new sense, different sense. So in the same way, I appreciate Bhaktarasa's contribution. We can make this line, Krishna loves you unconditionally and loves everyone else, just in case, our Paribhasa Sutra, and try to read reality through those lenses and rediscover even Krishna consciousness by the power of the lenses of unconditional love. That's a very important proposal. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reflection, important one. I may add that to the book I'm writing on the topic for sure. So,
Hare Krishna.
Something else, some other questions, some comments, someone would like to share? Yes, someone's raising his hand. Oh, Mukunda does. Welcome.
You
Thanks
hear
for
me?
joining. Yes, I can. But I'm not that high, so if you can talk us relatively loud, that would be good.
Yeah, I was wondering because it came to my mind. I'm practicing since 1969. I was always missing that some holistic point that even in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's written that one have to work on its character all the time. I was wondering that it's such a little verse because it's so much important. I was thinking about if we see the whole group of Krishna consciousness people are trying to be Krishna consciousness in this world, it seemed to be very, very much important that everyone works on itself, on a character, because it's also one part of to get anatta nivritti one time. And the stages of anatta nivritti, sometimes I'm wondering what always some stages are a little bit too little for me. I'm thinking greed and most of the character faults one has should be included in in the way to get anatta nivritti. And also if we see the responsibility for the group of Krishna consciousness devotees, or people like to be Krishna consciousness, so it's incredibly important to work on itself, because many people I've met and invited to Krishna consciousness, come, we go to the temple today, and many people said sometimes, oh, these people I've met, they're all crazy. Why you invited me to these crazy people? They're all so mad. Why is behaving like this? And so I had no answer. I'm sorry, maybe there's some lack of self-responsibility. And I'm wondering about, so in my case, this is incredibly important to work on itself. If you see the global situation, people are extremely traumatized from Ukraine-Russian war nowadays. They're coming back and they've been traumatized for lives after lives, because in the scientists said that after people getting traumatized by war, it lasts 7 lives, and the children of the children of the children of this person being traumatized. So, okay, you can chant Hare Krishna, and Krishna's name will take everything away. But in my experience, that it takes a long time to get such a deep inspiration and samskaras away from the people. So in that perspective, it becomes even incredibly more important to get how to say, a real therapist. Krishna is the best therapist, but we always have to ask. And Gurudev also, we can say, Gurudev, please help me to get away from this burden, because I'm extremely traumatized. I am speaking because of my own experience, because I'm permanently sick since 55 years and been many times in intensive care, and I'm extremely traumatized to the point when nowadays I have the post-traumatic stress syndrome, which makes my life to a horror. And also get no therapy places anymore, because all the traumatized Ukrainian people in Germany, they always need that also, of course. So we should be more aware of the situation, what may come up in our lives. Because Swami Prabhupada said, if you have a big stick and go into the mud, and crawling in the mud, many things come up. By the process of bhakti, by the process of chanting the holy names, many things came up. And we have to be aware that it's in my opinion, not enough to chant Hare Krishna and to be in sadhu sangha, because I remember what's in Apatishamrita written, that that is written there. You should avoid what's not favorable for bhakti, and you should take everything what's available for bhakti. I would say that that is not only in the frontiers of bhakti to use what is favorable for bhakti only from the Vedic side. So I think everything could be helpful. Everything.
Thank you, Mukundaji.
My thing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your testimony as well. And yeah, we are all somehow in our own ways, smaller or bigger, but trauma survivors, so to say. And I think it's important to bring that to the table and acknowledge those realities. And I agree with what you mentioned, even if there are sections in Shastra talking about that, although sometimes we may feel why there are not more sections about that. Well, again, there's one line in the Bhagavatam saying, Krishna's tu bhagavan svayam, and Jiva Goswami was able to take that little line and make so much out of that. So in the same way, maybe some sections are not that much present in quantity, but they are there. We have to be able to, that's the service that we are being offered, to continue to unearth those gems and to emphasize what needs to be emphasized. Sometimes in a certain time period, Some things may need to be emphasized more than others. So I think it's also part of the duty of any responsible member of a parampara, of the sampradaya, to connect with the zeitgeist, with the climate of the times, and know how to not only read and present and understand revelation according to the needs and the times, but also unpack and unfold and develop and expand on what has been said in the past. No, that's real dynamic living tradition. And what comes also in my mind regarding what you mentioned about the chanting, because of course so many times we hear, okay, just chant and everything will come, chant and be happy, or chant and whatever, magic will occur. Yeah, but chanting is not separated from a lifestyle favorable to that chanting. No, we shouldn't be separatistic and thinking just chanting is one thing, and the way I conduct myself the rest of my day doesn't matter because I'm chanting. No, that's again, go back to this third verse of Shikshastakam we were sharing a few minutes ago. Mahaprabhu is giving there the formula how to attain success in chanting. And he's talking about humility, forgiveness, tolerance, compassion, all a set of things that we are supposed to cultivate outside of the moment we are chanting. Because that verse is more applicable for when we are not doing kirtan. I mean, the verse says, if you culture these qualities, you will be able to do kirtaniya sadahari, to chant non-stop, let's put it that way, properly. Not chant non-stop mechanically, because anyone can program themselves. I will chant non-stop for the next 10 hours, but that's not what Mahaprabhu is talking about. So he's not saying, he's saying basically that, no? If you, by cultivating these qualities, you will be attaining this. So he's not saying while doing kirtan, cultivate these qualities. Of course, also, but he's not limiting that to the moment of doing kirtan. If we understand kirtan as sankirtan, congregational chanting, or japa, of course, we should be humble, tolerant, compassionate, forgiving, even at that moment. But sometimes, I mean, if I'm just sitting in my room chanting japa, I may not need to tolerate anything. I'm just comfortable there chanting, everything's nice. So I will be more tolerant than a tree now. You are not being put to test, probably. So the actual point is, when you wake up from your bhajan, when you leave your bhajan kutir, when you confront the world, and then if you did that properly, kirtaniya sadahari. So for me, this verse, which is the most important instruction ever given, clearly points to chanting should not be separated from a lifestyle that is favorable to the chanting. So every time we speak about chanting Hare Krishna and all that will come from that, it means, yes, all that will come from that, as long as you are having a lifestyle that is conducive, favorable for the chanting, as Mahaprabhu describes in his most important instruction. It's not like, don't care for what happens outside of the chanting and just keep chanting and everything will happen magically. That's not, in my opinion, a correct understanding, an integrative understanding. Again, Mahaprabhu is saying humility, compassion, tolerance, respect, and so on. If by you embracing this, you will be able to chant uninterruptedly. So he's showing the complementarity of these two things, how a coherent lifestyle is conducive for chanting and for the fruits of chanting that we hear about in the scriptures. No? Because if not, we are cheating ourselves, just repeating, no, I've been told, and this verse says that only by chanting this happens, but we are understanding chanting in a very reductionistic way. We are understanding chanting just by opening my mouth and saying H-A-R-E. Those are letters. That's not the name of Krishna. The name of Krishna comes when I chant with a particular mood, with a particular intention, with a particular spirit, and that for sure will depend on what do I do in between my chanting. No, what do I do with my life? So yeah, I will try to put all this together so we can every time as we were talking today, every time we talk about, like we were saying, Mukunda, anartha nivritti. Yeah, of course, anartha nivritti has to do with all this as well. No? How we deal with all this, with toxic shame, how we integrate trauma, how we heal our wounds. All that should be part of anartha nivritti as well. And every time we talk about chanting, we should immediately think it's a whole lifestyle connected to everything. Every time I talk about Krishna, I should think about everyone else, because nothing exists disconnected from Krishna. In the same way, every time I talk about chanting, I shouldn't just think about chanting. No? No. Chanting is relating to the name. And the name is not different from Krishna. And nothing exists separated from Krishna. Try to get that point. Chanting the name, chanting. What does it mean, chanting? Chanting the name. What's the name? Non-different from Krishna. And what's Krishna? Yeah, God, but everything else exists in connection with that. So chanting the name is relating to the name, and relating to the name is relating to Krishna. Relating to Krishna is relating to everything else, because nothing exists separated from Krishna. So that's chanting. Chanting is, how do I relate with everything? Not just Hare Krishna. Yeah, if I'm related to everything properly and you say Hare Krishna, you better prepare for the impact of that Hare Krishna. But you have to have a coherent lifestyle aligned with what we are talking about here. Anyhow, some further thoughts that were triggered by your contribution, Mukunda Prabhu. So thank you so much for your words and further comments. So that's we are 1 hour and a half. And to be honest, we have a few also local engagements here today. So I think with your permission, or even without it, I may need to put the discussion to rest for today. And next Saturday, we will return on the usual day, usual time, Saturday at 4 p.m., at least my local time here in Europe. You know which is your local time. But on Saturday, not on Sunday. So before concluding, I would like to say something, but first of all, before that, we'll conclude the recording here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Harinam Prabhu ki jai, Sri Gaur Nityananda Gaur Gadadhar Ji ki jai, Sri Radha Mohan Radha Govinda Dev Radha Gopinath Ji ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpataru